Welcome, everyone, to Good Night and Good Game, your source for geek news for the weeks that were. I'm your host, James, and with me, as always, is my wonderful co-host, Hector.
Hello.
And our fantastic producer, John.
It's me.
This week on the show, we have all the geek news that you need. And in the boss room, we're talking about accessibility in video games, because there has been a ton of improvements in that since we last dove into this topic years ago. But before we start, don't forget that you can head over to goodnight.gg, where as a patron of our show, you can suggest topics for us to talk about. Also, as a patron, you get access to our off-week episodes. We actually just got done recording one, so there should be one up next week, probably. All right, with all that out of the way, it's time to get into the Weekly Raid.
The Weekly Raid.
Welcome, everyone, to the Weekly Raid. It is your roundup of this week's geek news. Kicking things off this week, comic publisher IDW is publishing a 5-part miniseries called Event Horizon Dark Descent. The first part will launch on August 20th, and it is a prequel to the film that shows what happened to the very first Event Horizon crew before the events of the movie.
Gross.
I mean, I love that this exists. I don't know how to put this that doesn't sound
fucking gross
in a way that doesn't sound shitty. Do you remember when Palahniuk released the sequel to Fight Club as a graphic novel?
Oh, I do, because I own it.
Yeah, and I don't know if it's any good. Fight Club is one of my favorite movies of all time, and I love the book as well. Mm-hmm. But I didn't read it because I'm like, and I'm also a person who really likes graphic novels. Just yesterday, I was suggesting some to some friends who wanted to do a book swap because I don't have books. I have comic books.
You have Superman versus the Klan.
That's true,
Hey,
which is a comic book.
Yes.
For the record, that friend is my wife, and I am also probably going to be bringing a trade paperback comic. So
there you go. Yeah. So I have nothing against comics. I have nothing against any of that. But when you take a property that I love in a cinematic form and you turn it into a comic book, it screams low commitment to me. It screams like we had a B story and we might be able to sell this to a few thousand people. So
what it screams
draw
is
some
they
pictures.
Really didn't want to make that fucking movie.
Right. Because
I don't think they wanted to make the first movie.
You can get anything made right now. I mean, like if it is part of a franchise, and so whatever happened, this is what we got. I'm glad it exists. This one I will actually check out because it's been the only thought I've had in my head since watching the movie when I was a kid and over again.
Really good work. Because they specifically do a lot of licensed properties.
Right.
And they take a lot of care with their licensed properties.
Yeah, no, I believe it. I'm sure it will be good. I'm happy we're getting something. I wish it was more expensive. I don't know. It could have been a miniseries, like a 2 or 3 episode TV show. It could have been an hour long, one of those Netflix things. It could have been a lot of stuff.
Yep.
But you know what? Those things could have all been bad if no one wanted to make it. So, it's a compromise. Sure. I'm in. I mean, you son of a bitch, you got me. Yeah.
One of the more surprising film hits of this year's South by Southwest Film Festival was a little title called Good Boy, a haunted house movie that is completely told from a dog's perspective. Well, the distribution rights have finally been acquired, and Good Boy will be coming to Shudder of all places.
Fuck yeah.
There is no release date set, but I would bet almost anything if they just got the rights, we're going to see it around Halloween.
Yeah, no, I can't wait to watch this on the big screen over Halloween, over movie night. It's going to be great.
In Japan.
In Japan, yeah, that's true. If it comes out for Halloween, yeah, it'll be in Japan. I wonder if I can just stream Shudder to my TV in Japan. I hope so.
Probably.
Yeah.
Get a VPN, my friend.
That's true. Not to go back to comic books again, but in the Matt Fraction run of Hawkeye, you get an entire chapter that is told through the point of the pizza dog.
Yeah.
You know, and there's no, he has word bubbles, but they're pictographs because he didn't think in words.
Right.
You know, and it's such a wonderful chapter, and it's funny and it's exciting. So like, yeah, I hope this is great because it should be.
It should be, absolutely. So we've known for a while that there's multiple Evil Dead films that are in the works, and the very first one of those was announced this week. It's called Evil Dead Burn, and it's being directed by the director of this year's wildly popular spider horror film, Infested. He's a French director. And the release date for Evil Dead Burn is going to be July 24th, 2026. Now, we don't have any updates on the second project just yet, but I do have a quote from Evil Dead Burn's director here I think that you'll like. He said, "I told the studio that I want to make a nasty film, a film that hurts, and from a film from which you come away tested. I'm going to put all the horror that I have inside of me, and it will be cathartic, and if I haven't ruined my career and continue to make films behind it, I can probably move on to something other than horror."
Well, I mean, I'd buy a ticket just for that quote, honestly, because like, all right, this guy's giving it everything he's got. Let's go. Let's see what he's got.
James, you are in a horror mood this week.
I always am. It's also halfway to Halloween. We gotta have lots of Halloween things. So, but not every film thing that I want to talk about is going to be directly horror related. In fact, a bit of news this week is about Dev Patel, who's the always amazing to watch person.
Absolutely.
Anytime that man is on the screen, I am engaged.
You've still never seen Slumdog Millionaire.
I have not, no.
Oh my God.
We got to throw that on one of these days.
Yeah. So, Dev Patel, of course, just did, what was it, Monkey? Yeah, Monkey Man?
Monkey Man.
Yeah, Monkey Man. We went and saw that in theaters.
Yeah.
It's a revenge film. I've
seen it a couple times since then. It's so fucking good.
Yeah.
And like some of it, like he had the hardest time putting this movie together because they kept running out of money. They lost their rights to Netflix because it had to do with Indian politics, and Netflix was like, nope, not touching that shit. And then the film was then rescued by Jordan Peele. It went through a lot. Part of it is just filmed with Dev Patel's iPhone because that was what they had budget for that
While
day.
he had a broken hand.
While he had a broken hand, because he broke his hand and I believe some of his ribs just doing different stunts over the course of filming this movie. This was such a fucking cool movie. Like, y'all.
So his new project, he is writing, directing, and starring in, and it's called The Peasant. Now, this is another revenge thriller, but this time it's going to be set in the 1300s. It is being sold as a mashup between John Wick, Braveheart, and King Arthur. And if you think that's weird, y'all need to watch The Green Knight.
Yeah.
That man knows how to be in a period piece.
Yep. What can I say? Like I'm super in. I'm into this like I was into John Wick 2. It's like, yeah, give it to me. If John Wick 2 had been like medieval for whatever reason, I still would have gone, and it still would have been badass. So like, yeah. Whatever Dev Patel ever wants to make for from now until he does something really bad, I'm super in because Monkey Man was incredible, and it was a movie
His
he
baby.
directed and starred in, and he put his whole fucking ass into it. You can tell the screen bleeds with his effort. It's so good. So yeah, I can't wait to see hopefully a better funded movie from him this time.
Absolutely. Okay, let's move on to video game news, and I'm going to start us off with some happy stuff. Or at least one happy thing to start with. The French RPG Clair Obscur Expedition 33 has sold over 2 million copies in just 12 days. Clair Obscur is the first game from a new studio, and it really is going to show what a smaller game studio is capable of.
We're going to talk about this game more when we talk about what we've been doing this week. So,
Yep.
I don't know how much I should say about this now, except that no game deserves this more. It's weird how few trailers we saw for this game before it came out. I might have seen one or two at a festival, and then all of a sudden it was the game's launch day, and people were saying this is one of the greatest games I've ever played. We were seeing tweets the day before the embargo lifted from people like Jacob Geller saying, like, guys, if you're going to buy an RPG, I know the Oblivion Master just came out, but if you're going to buy and maybe review or just play an RPG this month, maybe wait one more day. And that next day, that was Clair Obscur coming out. Word of mouth alone, I want to say, has sold 12 million copies.
I
of
would
this
I would
game.
agree. Absolutely.
You see trailers maybe here and there now that it's popular and they can buy more ad space to boost sales. But before the game came out, it was nothing. I had forgotten which game it was until they said it's a JRPG with the with the actual combat prompts.
We
And I
saw
was oh
we
yeah,
saw
that.
a story trailer like a year ago at the Game Awards.
I was gonna say, yeah, it was like something like forever ago at the Game Awards, where they're like,
Yeah.
"Hey, look at this game," and it gets lost in the jumble.
Yeah.
All
All you knew is that like every year a chunk of the population dies.
Yep.
And that was it. That's all you
And
knew.
that was it. That's all we knew. And it was such a weird like trailer and weird everything else. And we're like, huh, okay, I guess so. And it comes out and it is wildly popular. This game deserves this. It deserves more. I hope they make it to 30 million copies because this game is a testament. It is a testament to the power of small studios outsourcing what they can, building expertise on their own, and releasing a game that makes sense to them, not chasing an industry trend or trying to recreate the magic of Assassin's Creed Black Flag again or
You can tell how
any
much
of that
love
shit.
is in that game.
Oh, yeah. It just oozes. It just from the voice acting to the animation work to the way that the systems all work together in such amazing harmony where you can do different
The
builds
fact that
with
I
your
am
characters.
sitting here right now doing this podcast and not playing Clair Obscur is a testament to my willpower.
Yeah.
Because that's all I want to be doing right now.
I was playing it before I came over, and I was like, God damn it, I got to go shower and go do the podcast. I just want to sit here and play more of this game.
Yeah.
That's where we are about it right now, and I can't recommend it to y'all enough. If you have Game Pass, just download it and play it.
Yep.
If you want to support the developer, it's on Steam. It's not a full AAA price. It's $50.
Yep.
Just get it.
Yeah,
Play it.
absolutely. And we'll talk a little bit more about Clair Obscur at the end of the show. Let's move on from there because we got to talk about layoffs in the game industry. Here we are. Over the last week, EA has laid off between 300 and 400 employees. Many of these layoffs affected teams like Respawn, who, last we heard, was working on something new in the Titanfall universe. That might be the most cursed franchise in video game history.
Yep.
It has to be. Now, from what we heard, EA did offer up some relocation programs within the company to select employees, but that's 300 to 400 employees. You can't just
The only reason they have that program is when someone says, "Oh man, this is a really key talent. You should not lay this person off," because they're gonna go and form an indie studio and make and sell 12 million copies in 12 days.
Yep.
It should be. I know you're listening, Congress. It should be illegal to have mass layoffs and post a profit in the same quarter. Period.
Let's talk about that actually, because shortly after the announcement of the layoffs from within EA, their CEO, Andrew Wilson, openly talked about how, looking forward, they expect to see record growth financially thanks to expanding their live service offerings and the 2026 release of Skate and the new Battlefield games. Now, again, as I give you this quote, keep in mind, 300 to 400 people just got laid off from this company. This is a quote from their CEO. So, we've got, let me get here. Overall, EA is forecasting consolidated net bookings of between $7.6 billion and $8 billion during fiscal year 26, driven by EA Sports, The Sims, Battlefield, and Skate. The publisher also expects continued growth in live services across the next 2 years.
Yeah. Stop laying people off to make a profit. It's gross and it should be illegal. And I hope some guys come to your house. Fuck you. All of you, genuinely.
And
who do this to people who make the games that you make money off of. Shame on you.
So there is another bit of EA news this week. It turns out there is a lot to talk about. So in our final bit of EA news for the week, the CFO of EA was asked during their earnings call if they were going to be following Nintendo's trend of making games $80 at release. So I'm just going to quote their CFO, Stuart Canfield, directly. In a world where everything we did 10 years ago was about selling shiny discs in plastic boxes and retail shelves, while it's still part of our business, it is a significantly smaller part of our business. And now we have pricing representing everything from free to play all the way to deluxe editions and beyond. At the end of the day, whether we're doing something that costs $1, we're doing something that costs $10 or costs $100, our objective is always delivering incredible quality and exponential value to the player base. And what we've discovered over the course of time is that we can marry quality and value together. Our business is strong, resilient, and continues to grow. From a games perspective, we have reflected no changes in our current strategy at this point. So in summary, they're saying that the cost of EA games won't be $80 to match market what the market's doing. But they're also just kind of charging whatever the fuck they want. So.
Right. That was we don't know yet. You'll find out. Is what that was. And I'm gonna quote Ralph from Skill Up here for a minute because he had a really good thing to say about it today, and I agree completely. The topic of the price of video games is one that you should really, really be reasonable about. You know, some people are like, the price should never go up. They're already doing microtransactions, and the price should, games should be free for what they're, how they're fucking us, on the other end. Or some games are free, and you should be able to pay for them. And $80 is a steal compared to how much these games cost to pay and man hours to produce and everything. I'll remind you that most of the people who work on those games never see a dime of that $80 because they get laid off when the game comes out. But here's the actual point. If Ubisoft wants to sell me the next Assassin's Creed AAA title for $80 with like a $200 collector's edition that also sells a bunch of horse armory bullshit for microtransactions and DLC when the game comes out, no, just absolutely not. If Larian Studios for their next genre-defining RPG, if they're going to make Baldur's Gate 4 or some other incredible game like they do that is a singular price that will never charge me an extra dime and will continue to iterate and grow and improve after the game comes out until they think it is the most perfect product it can be after they've got your money, yeah, I got $80 for you. Probably more. So, I mean, back and forth. I don't know. You vote with your wallet, because when it comes down to it, I really do want to buy Clair Obscur and pay those developers their actual money. James got it on PS5. My buddy Ross got it on Steam. I was playing it on Game Pass, but give them your money. And when it comes to stuff that you might think less of, just because of the way it's done, the way it's marketed, maybe it's an Assassin's Creed or a Far Cry, maybe it's the latest AAA game from, well, not Microsoft, but Sony or something, or whoever. Don't buy it on sale. Show them that you're willing to wait and maybe even not even buy their game, and tell them why. Why? Is it because the game's bad? No, it's because you market it badly and because you didn't put effort into it. I'll tell you what, when the next Bethesda game comes out, like just completely and shitified, don't pay full AAA price for that one. When the Elder Scrolls 6 eventually comes out broken as all fuck, just don't buy it. Or buy it on sale. Or buy it through a reseller, or whatever you're going to do to show them that they're charging too much and they should, fucking calm down.
One more bit of sad news, and then we got one kind of bit of weird news for the game section here. One of the most respected games journalism sites, Polygon, was sold this week to media company Valnet. While we don't have a current number, many people working for Polygon have turned to social media to speak up about getting laid off. Now, I'm going to get a little personal with this one. If you were really not that familiar with Polygon, or if you just thought it was the video game site, you're not wrong. It is. But Polygon was actually one of the very few game sites that actually did investigative journalism. They didn't just repost what everybody else was posting. They didn't just post press releases like companies like IGN do. Like, they had investigative journalism so that they could discuss what was going on in the industry, especially over the last couple of years when the industry has been going through a very hard time. And as far as games journalism goes, we are worse off for not having Polygon. Polygon was one of so I always pull from multiple sources when I'm doing the news, and Polygon was always a very trusted news source that I could go to. And with them being just sold off in pieces, there's no way that the Polygon that we're going to see in the future is going to be anything like it was. It's probably going to be mostly AI-generated schlock, and it's going to suck.
Yeah. Press releases and game reviews that will never, ever go lower than, say, like a 6 out of 10. Yeah, that
Start
IGN type
archiving.
stuff. That's
They're trying to, but a lot of stuff's being taken down as quickly as they can do it.
Damn.
Yeah, and that's the state of games journalism. I get all of my game news now from YouTubers who are either singular or small teams and do the work of chasing down stories. And Yeah, that printed stuff that you go to every day for like a really good article on X or Y or how a game was made, or like there are a few voices still left, but none of them work in games media. I mean, Jason Schreier, did he work for Forbes or something like
Yeah, he
that?
does.
Like, yeah. Um, we lose our printed outlets and places where people can go for like 10,000 words on a game. And I mean, there are game essayists out there. We have our Jacob Gellers and our Susie Hunters and everything in between. Our super eye patch wolves, but that's not exactly news, and it's not exactly journalism, except to say like what a game meant to them and what it might mean to you.
And it's not a single stop to pick up
That
what
too.
they have to offer.
Yeah, and because they're videos, it might be a 2-hour investment rather
And they got to
than
come
just
to
a
us.
long article.
Just try and buy us, Valnet. See what happens. I will take your fucking money and I will put it in my pocket. Oh,
Right in my bank account.
I will sell out the moment you offer
shove
me a
it in
picture.
my bank. You won't know the dirty things I'll do to your money. You just try it, Valnet.
All right, let's end the news with something a little more lighthearted. Finally, this week, Microsoft has announced another remaster of their hit title Gears of War.
Oh, finally.
This is a remaster
This
of their
it's even funnier.
This is their remaster of their 2015 remaster of the game.
Yeah, it is.
This time it's called Gears of War Reloaded, but in a surprising move, it's coming to the PlayStation.
That's right. Gears of War on the PlayStation 5.
The Microsoft title Gears of War.
We have.
Well, I mean, your PlayStation is an Xbox.
It is
Yeah.
now.
Did you know that?
This is the moment where, if you're a longtime fan of the show, you'll know Tony, our other co-host from the past. This is one of those moments where I wish you were here to say, "I'm pretty sure Sony just won the console war." Bro, that was always our dynamic. He was kind of an Xbox guy, and I was kind of a PlayStation guy. But yeah, now that what's his name? Phil Spencer has to watch from the cuck chair while I play, Gears of War on my PlayStation 5. You know what? And we're getting a lot of back and forth on whether Microsoft is smart or Sony has won or what any of this means for anything. And I can take all arguments either way. I just think it's very funny that we have this. There were moments, 10 years ago where I was like, surely, Sony will eventually have to sell Spider-Man games on the Xbox or something. But nope, complete opposite.
Yep.
And yeah, here we are. And if I can get Game Pass on my PlayStation 5 one day, I want to play those games on my TV, and I'm not buying a fucking Xbox. So
Yeah, weirdly, I'm thinking about the Vikings, and there were some stories of the Vikings, some early historical events where they came at some land, some villages and stuff, came at them hard, and they fucking won, and then their way of life was kind of over because they're like, oh, we're in a city now, and we have shops and clothes and a way of life that's not being a Viking. Weird. We kind of lost.
yeah,
That's how it goes.
yeah.
Yeah, so Gears of War on PlayStation. Get excited.
Yeah.
You know what? I'll replay Gears of War.
Gears of War is a great couch co-op game.
Bro,
Play it with your
yeah,
friends.
Yeah, if it's couch co-op, we just get really smashed and just play some Gears of War.
Absolutely.
All right, that's everything we have for the news this week, but stick with us as we get into our main topic in the Boss Room.
Boss Room.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the show. It's time for the Boss Room, sometimes related to the news, sometimes not. This is the part of the show where we can dive deeper into our opinions on things, like this week's topic, Accessibility in Games 2025 edition. Okay, so it's been a long time since we've had this talk, so I want to give you an idea of what we will be discussing. So accessibility in games can mean a lot of things. It can be menu options that make a game easier. Sometimes it can be options that make a game easier to see. It could be a custom controller. It can be allowing your game to be played on multiple platform Gears of War.
Yeah.
I think it's really safe to say, and I know I can hear the comment section right now. It is safe to say that more accessibility in games is a good thing. And I will die on that hill.
Mm-hmm.
Make games more accessible. So that's what I'm going to talk about.
Instead of dying, maybe you could just get good.
Get good, yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, let's talk about it.
I'm going to point out a really interesting feature here that I ran into recently. If you listen to our previous episode, you know that I was playing and have since finished the first Berserker Kazan. which is a Neo-like, and a Neo-like is a Neo game. The game Neo is basically a Souls-like, but a little bit more hardcore, but a little bit more like about the systems and the RPG of it than the world building and the storytelling. It's just hard animation-based mechanics and difficult enemies, and death is always a few inches away, but also like you can feel like the ultimate badass by playing well, that sort of thing. Well, when I loaded up Kazan, which was an amazing fucking game and one of the best in this genre there's ever been, with Souls-likes, I'd put it right up there next to Lies of P, which is my favorite Souls-like. That's not made by From Software, I mean. But in this one, you go through the game. There's always a tutorial level that's showing you, like, this is how you parry, this is how you fight, this is how you select things, and you go all the way through up until you fight the first boss. And it's a whole level, you're struggling, you're learning the game, you're figuring out what the timing is. You get to that boss and you fight him, and he kills you a few times, and you fight him and you beat him, and you're like, okay, beat the tutorial. And then the game pops up and says, good job. Would you like this to be easier? That's when it lets you do easy mode. You play the game as it's intended to be played, and it's like, hey, there's no shame in just lowering some of the number values and letting you go to town, and it's I thought it was a very creative place to put it rather than in a settings menu or right at the beginning with a tooltip or something, but just let you experience the game and then say, hey, are you enjoying yourself or was that too hard?
How far along were you for that?
About an hour into the game.
Okay.
Yeah, it lets you experience the game normally, and then it's like, hey, was that too hard? Because like you can just play through this game and have it be way easier. Click this option, or if you're like, nah, that was great, then bring it on, and we're gonna do this the normal way. A fantastic game, but as far as accessibility goes, especially when it comes to what the conversation since Demon Souls is, should we have an easy mode? Because easy mode was always a thing. They decided to do it in a way that was accessible to every single person who plays the game right from the beginning. Not in a way like we used to pontificate with From Software games, like using a bow is easier, do that. It's like, no, you can play the game exactly how you want, and the game is easier because easy mode. And that's good, actually.
I've actually really been enjoying, and I know this is just a nitpicky thing, I've really been enjoying that a lot of games have been replacing the word easy mode with story mode.
Yeah, absolutely. And some of them even go so far as to have an easy mode and then have a story mode where you basically cannot die. You go through the combat and it will be quick. If you're not here for the combat, one of my favorite examples is Horizon Forbidden West. They have a mode in that game that's like, do you just want to know the story? Are you just interested in these characters in this world and this cool sci-fi shit? Then you will never be threatened by any of the enemies in this game. Just don't worry about it. Just kill them and move on.
Yeah, because I always think there's this comedian. I'll send you guys this Charlie Brooker video he made on video games. But this comedian steps up and he's like, you know what? I love video games, but I hate that I'm bad at them, and so I never get the story. Like there's nobody. If I'm reading a book, there's nobody that comes in at the end of chapter 3. He's like, "Ooh, I don't think you really got the themes. Why don't you go back to the beginning?" Like I'm never dancing to an album. Like, whoa, I don't think you're shaking your booty quite well enough to get to track 5. So let's go back. Let's try again.
Imagine if listening to music had a failure state.
Right?
It's called DDR.
That is true.
So yeah, I mean, there's a lot of ways to do accessibility. I know that we're talking about like difficulty modes is one of them, but let's break that down a little bit. For the second time being brought up on this show, and not the last, let's talk about Clair Obscur Expedition 33. You can in that game go to what is considered a story mode, and all story mode in Clair Obscur does for you is widen the windows for parrying and dodging. It does not make it easy. I know. I tried it. It's still difficult, but it gives you like a little bit more breathing room because the game's primary mechanic is
parrying and dodging. If you play the combat and you're not parrying and dodging, if you're playing it like a normal JRPG where you're just gonna get hit and deal with it and heal your party and
you will
attack
die.
back, you will
not clear the tutorial.
Yeah, like you won't get through the tutorial. You will
Yep.
lose. The game is built on parrying and dodging. They also have an accessibility mode. If you're bad at is it for whatever reason, you could be disabled, you could be not. You could be old, you could, just not be great at QTEs. But when you do an attack and the fact that you press X at a specific moment during the attack doubles the damage you're going to do, then you want that. And the
I
game
turned that on.
And the game has a mode where those will automatically complete for you.
Yep.
And
I have no shame. I will tell you right now, I turned that on because the two things that you need to be able to do in that game are hit X a second time to boost your damage.
Second and third, maybe
every
second, third,
single
and fourth.
time.
Yeah.
And you also have to worry about parry timing windows. I only really care about one of those two things.
Right. Well, they wouldn't let you automate parrying and dodging.
Right.
Because it would break the game.
Right.
So, but they do let you automate doing the extra damage with the things. If it's just, if either it's hard for you, or maybe you just can't be fucked and you just want to play it like a normal JRPG where you dodge, instead of a normal JRPG, but you dodge, parry,
my ADHD brain
quick
really
time.
only wants to focus on one thing, and that's, do I focus on the QTE for the attack, or am I focusing on listening for the timing for the parry?
Right.
And for me, it was turn auto combat on for attacks, and then I can focus on the parry window.
Yeah, and that's great. And giving people that, we had a really great video from Stephanie Sterling this week. It was actually 2 weeks in a row. The first one, they talked about how the game was hard, but it made them want to keep playing because the game was encouraging them. And then this week's episode was, hey, I actually got good. I practiced it and I got good. And I wonder what that says about me and the limitations I thought I had. But also I wonder what that means about difficulty. And they're a person who started off with all of the options turned on and then later became comfortable enough to turn them back off because they thought it was more enjoyable to really be engaged in every part of the combat. And that's such a wonderful thing. And most games, especially most AAA games, would never let you turn off things like that. Just to like sort of get a handle on the game. And it was just such a smart thing to do, especially for an indie studio. Most indie studios don't have, the wherewithal to do really good or really focus tested or really smart accessibility options. Because most people aren't disabled and have very little experience with the disabled.
Yeah.
So just having that forethought was incredibly good of the team.
Yeah, and over the course of the two videos, I think her best point was how just because I got good, just because I was able to, I instinctively, like she wanted to say that if I can do it, anybody can do it, but that is wrong. Like, that is such a selfish, narrow-minded, weird perspective.
It's true.
To be like, just because I could figure out something, and it's supposed to sound, like she points out, it's supposed to sound self-deprecating, but really it's just sounding like really narrow-minded, and like the world you experience is the same one everybody else does.
Right.
And that's the end of it.
And I mean, we could broaden this topic to a whole bunch of things. Recently, I got a return to office order at work. And the arguments I hear online and from all over the internet is, hey, we used to do this and it was fine. We did this right up until COVID. Everyone drove to work every day. They sat in traffic. They wore uncomfortable clothes, and they sat in their cubicle and they either took online conference meetings or they went to conference rooms. And it was the office all day and then the commute home. And they, had very little time for quality of life things like meal prepping for work, which, I guess they're going to do while they're not at work to prepare to go to work because they have to be in an office all day. We all used to do that. Things got better. And now there are people saying, well, I did it. I still do it, because I'm whatever kind of service industry you might be in where you cannot work from home. It's like, well, we do it. What are you complaining about? It's like things get better. And we learn to make things better for people. Children used to work with heavy machinery in factories. And I'm sure there were people back then who said, I worked in a factory when I was 12. Why
Hector-
can't this child mow the lawn?
We used to put cocaine in Coca-Cola.
Yeah, yeah. Things get better for people, and it's good, actually. And instead of being wasteful, like driving to work every morning, or something like the game should be hard for everybody, and for people who just can't enjoy that, they should refund the game and get fucked, or just plainly get fucked. No. It's good that more people can enjoy this thing, that more people can
Hector,
do
if
this
there
thing.
are not employees in the office, what are all the middle managers going to do?
They middle manage
Okay.
from home. I've been a middle
Do what
manager
the
from
rest
home.
of us do who work from home.
Yeah.
Masturbate.
I have been a middle manager working from home. It was fine. Everyone got their hours. Everyone got their vacation days. Everyone, I managed their work and their ticket queue. I still made sure things got done, but I did it in my pajama pants, and the life was good.
It's true. So, accessibility options aren't always just difficulty, as we've been saying. There's been some really cool developments we've been seeing over the last couple of years. Some of the big stuff, now I didn't even know about this one but until I was researching this for our main topic. Apparently in Forza Motorsport, they have blind driving assists, where you have audio cues and steering assists so that you can race if you're blind or have low vision. How fucking cool is that?
It's so fucking cool. I mean, I still remember. I'm still hyped about the Last of Us Part 2 accessibility features, where if you are basically like nearly entirely blind, they have outlines and like contrasting colors. I mean, to a normal person, the game looks like blocks, but to someone with that kind of vision, the game is now parsable and they can enjoy it, and they can enjoy the story mostly audibly, but they can see what's going on and they have enough clarity and readability to actually play the game. And I love that for them.
I am still blown away, and I still can't. I mean, I can believe it now, but at the time, I could not conceive of the human being who was like railing against all of these changes in that game, like making it accessible to people who might suck at a video game.
How
Like-
dare they stood where I stand.
I mean, they're not like, I could understand if you're a guitarist and somebody wins a fucking Grammy for, having a computer do their guitar. I don't know. I'm making shit up, but
yeah.
but
No,
you're playing a game, your game
Yeah.
for fun, and somebody else is playing it for fun their way. I can't conceive of that argument.
No, I'm right there with you. And I'm sure if there was an esport, where actual money was on the line and careers mattered, that certain accessibility features
Sure.
might not be allowed, but like that you just have standards for competitive play, especially when money's on the line. But that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about having fun in your house by yourself or with a friend playing some couch co-op. Why shouldn't it be fun for everyone? Why?
One of the things and the coolest advances over the last few years, and I say this as somebody who has been pretty deeply obsessed with the fighting game community since I was very young. I watch Evo every year. Like it's my dream to go one day and get my ass kicked in the first round. But Tekken 8 released high contrast mode. So that it's easier for people who are partially blind to be able to play Tekken. And of course, most famously, fucking Street Fighter added the
single button press combos, basically an easier way to do the controls, which Tekken also did. And it allowed, again, we had Stephanie on the line talking about how they could play Street Fighter now, and they always thought it was good. It looks cool, but they couldn't win. And now they can. And that is wonderful for them, and everyone liked them. And the thing, exactly the same thing for Tekken.
Yeah. It's wild to think that, the fighting game community, if you've never been a part of it, it's a very warm and welcoming place. I've gone to a few tournaments in my day. Nary a negative thing is ever said. The rot gets kicked out immediately. That's just not how we do things in the fighting game community. But defined fighting games, if you had asked me 5 years ago, could fighting games be more accessible? I'm like, I couldn't tell you. I'd be like, I don't think they can. I am so glad to be proven wrong. I'm so glad that we're finding new ways to make fighting games available to more people because I want the community to grow.
You want to talk about accessibility? Speaking of fighting games, think about this. Think about the landscape of who was available to play these games online and roll back netcode,
It's true.
expanding that list exponentially across the world. And suddenly people with less than optimal internet can play these games online with
Can
other
play
people.
Guilty Gear with the rest of us.
Exactly. I mean, and I know it wasn't invented as an accessibility feature, but it really does make the game more accessible to more people, and that's a very, very good thing.
Another one of the really big ones that came out over the last few years is another Crab's Treasure.
Yeah,
That is a Souls-like in which you play a crab
yep, under the sea,
Under the sea.
just fighting
and
pollution.
you equip various shells. But the fun part about this game, because it is a very goofy looking game, it's a very silly game. There's a lot of puns.
super cute, cartoony,
Super cute. It has an accessibility mode unlike any other accessibility mode in a game. If you just want to play another Crab's Treasure to get through the game and get your shell back and win the game because it's really cute, you can get a gun.
Yep, there's just a mode with a gun.
There's a mode where the game just gives you a gun in a game with no guns.
Yep. And it's like, here, did you just want a super OP weapon so you can move through the game? There you go.
Have a gun. Just do it. And like that's fucking amazing. It's just it's such an out of the box way to do it. And then you have games like Hellblade,
Oh,
which has always tried its hardest, but Hellblade 2 makes sure that the subtitles are super accurate to what's going on. If you're unfamiliar with the Hellblade series, it deals with mental illness.
Yeah, but it's a game about having a disability.
And like they do everything from making sure that the voices in your head have proper subtitles so that you can read them cleanly and hear what's going on and have the spatial awareness for things that are happening. That is a studio that almost always wins awards every year for their accessibility because Ninja Theory gives a shit about making a game about having a disability accessible to everybody.
Yeah, and the thing that they pioneered their first game with the binaural audio and the feeling like when someone is standing right behind you whispering in your ears. Incredible stuff, incredible games. They are largely a tech demo is the wrong word because they are games and they do have something to say, but they're also largely proofs of concept for Ninja Theory to get other work. But they're so cool. They're so cool and they're so creative and interesting. It's awesome.
One of the things that I found very interesting in terms of accessibility for everybody was back when it was still around, I was very heavily involved in the Overwatch League community. And kind of part of being that community means kind of showing up and watching some of your favorite members play, either live or on their Twitch streams. And something I started to notice over time, a lot of Overwatch players had subtitles turned on. Because the subtitles feed you information about that you would normally get through your headphones.
Yep. Not only that, but you can color code those subtitles based on whether it is something someone is saying or a sound you should be hearing.
Yep. That is wild. And kind of as a whole adjacent thing to that, another thing I learned while researching this for this week's show is that during the 2 days that Concord was in existence, apparently they actually had a high contrast character outlines for the player and enemy team. Something that really isn't seen in shooting games because it's considered cheating, quote unquote.
Right.
But they were very insistent, like, we need to make our game accessible to everybody. So yeah, we will put these in. If some schmuck wants to use it for thinking that they'll get an advantage, fine. But I mean, it's no different than when you and I are playing Marvel Rivals. I recently switched enemy outlines to yellow.
Yeah, exactly.
Because
it's easier to see certain characters.
A lot of
especially
characters
against,
wear
like,
fucking
Sky.
red.
Yeah.
So the enemies' outlines in red often get washed against Iron Man's armor. So turning their outlines to yellow goes, oh, okay, now I can hit my shots better.
Yep.
And that is both an accessibility and a really cool advantage to have, I think. But, I mean, outside of that, it isn't just in-game. There's a lot of out-of-game stuff. Xbox had their adaptive joystick that they announced.
Yeah.
8-Bit Do, who is actually the crew that has. I have a Nintendo themed keyboard from 8-Bit Do. They put out something called the Lite SE for Xbox.
Okay.
It's just a new kind of custom controller for better accessibility. This extends to so many areas that isn't just an in-game toggle option. But even when it does come, sometimes accessibility comes in the form of taking things away instead of adding things. Mm-hmm. And Astrobot, specifically, Game of the Year 2024,
right,
actually had accessibility options that turned off features on the controller. The features that we all praise this game for. Mm-hmm. Oh my God, it feels like an actual zipper when you're moving it. Mm-hmm. You can breathe into the microphone. But these are not things that are accessible to everybody. So there's features in Astrobot where you can turn those things off so that you can play it without having to rely on all the tricks and gimmicks and all of the things.
Right.
Because with those features turned on or off, Astrobot, at the end of the day, a fantastic game still. Oh, and I'm glad that it's accessible to more people.
Oh, for sure, yeah. Incredibly tight, good platformer.
But do they give you a gun?
I mean, in the Uncharted levels, they do.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right, the last accessibility thing I want to talk about is really interesting to me because Silent Hill 2, the remake, has interesting accessibility options, and not just in the options screen. First off, and I know this is going to fucking piss a lot of people off. I hate to say it, you're on the wrong side of history about this one. The first thing you see before Silent Hill 2 launches is an detailed content warning screen of everything that is in that game. And this isn't unique to Silent Hill 2, as I did play the free Silent Hill game that Konami published a few months earlier than that.
Mm-hmm. Also, mouthwashing came with a massive warning.
Massive.
You should read before you play that game.
Mm-hmm. Oh, absolutely. If you're going to play mouthwashing, do read the content warning, please. And there's a lot of bad people on the internet who are like, oh man, putting content warnings in games, man, that's really just like
fucking spoiler,
or
some other bullshit.
You're softening up the people who want to play your horror game.
People need to be hard for some reason.
Right. Look, man, if I want to be hard playing Silent Hill, I want it because Silent Hill makes me hard, not because of accessibility problems.
Right, not because of some dude
Pyramid
that
Head's
thinks I
cheeks.
should be hard.
I want to see Pyramid Head's cake, and that gets me hard.
Right.
Not, I'm uncomfortable by the situation that I didn't know was in it. And you know what? When the original Silent Hill 2 came out, we didn't have those things, those disclaimers. I actually want to give a really interesting real-life parallel for this. So, I have been a role-playing storyteller for most of my life. We call them the eternal DMs or eternal STs. I prefer to run games than be in them. Now, I got my start way back in the 90s when Vampire was first coming out. And Vampire the Masquerade, by its very nature, has a very, very lot of dark themes. Now, I took like a 10-year break off of role-playing when I moved to Austin. And during that time, by the time I came back to role-playing, the role-playing community started putting out comfort sheets. That's a bad way of putting it, but they are sheets in which from green to red, you can mark your level of comfort with certain topics. And these topics, they are heavy topics. We are not talking about, do you like tacos? We're talking about sexual assault. We're talking physical violence, drowning, torture. These are things that are on these roleplay checklists. And there's a very small section of the roleplay community that we should fucking get rid of that believe that these sheets they're for the weak. You should be allowed to have whatever kind of horror you want in your game, and they should suck it up, bucko. I hate to break it to you, but I wish they had these sheets back when I was getting my start in role-playing. You got to play in a splatterpunk horror vampire game. Now, that's a very unique, different type of vampire game than most vampire games. And you went through a 2-hour course on how to play the game and all of the safety rules. Mm-hmm. Do you feel like your experience was lessened or heightened for having done that?
Oh, God, absolutely heightened. Like, it's just 1,000%. Going into it, when I heard that there was a 2-hour meeting on the safety that we'll be engaging in for our game, I was like, mandatory, huh? Geez, I guess they're really serious about this. And then by the end of that meeting, which was not boring, by the way, we had a good time. They made it entertaining. I feel like I knew how to play the game. Before, again, remember, this was my first one. Now, going in, I was like, okay, right, we're going to be acting, we're going to be playing characters. But not only did we get to meet all the people we were going to be acting, with and against and everything else, but we learned how we should be interacting with them. So I don't have to worry in the back of my head, like, I kind of want to reach out and grab this guy by the hair right now. What do? I do exactly what to do. And I knew how to carry the scene forward, and I knew how to play the damn game. It was a tutorial, and it was a good one. And that's a good thing.
And here's what I would say to some of those edgelord people, because there have been videos I've made that I have put warnings on, trigger warnings or whatever. And my motivation, if I'm being perfectly honest, wasn't because I'm a sensitive, nice guy. It's because, I don't want to hear any annoying person, but so I'm going to put this up to filter them out, And so just come at it like that way, oh, good. They're telling them all the shit that's in this game, so that way I don't have to deal with the wussies,
Right.
Like, what is wrong with that?
Yeah.
It's a mentality. You know what it is? It's an empathy problem.
Oh, yeah, 1,000%.
The people who say, like, oh, man, I
loaded
loaded up Silent Hill 2 Remake, and it told me it has violent depictions of sexual assault, and I should have been able to learn that in game. You know what, bro? Guess you're harder than we are.
Yeah.
But maybe it's just an empathy thing. Maybe as I've gotten older, I've become more empathetic to these things. But I would rather somebody know what they're getting into, especially when it comes to horror, because of all the genres of film, movies, role-playing games, horror is the one that's supposed to speak to us the most personally.
Right.
And being able to know what we're getting into when we get into horror is so much more important, because that means at the end of the day, more people are going to get into horror because of it. Mm-hmm. They know what to expect, and they know that the rules have been put in front of them at the beginning. These are the things that you're going to be dealing with. There's a reason why mouthwashing has the very detailed list of the things that are in it.
And I'm glad it does, so I will never play that game.
Yeah. So when it comes to accessibility, we aren't just talking about difficulty. We're talking about controllers. We're talking about gameplay. We're talking about notifications.
Yeah.
I think that one of my favorite categories, and I know this is going to sound really silly to some of you, one of the categories I'm always the most excited for come the Game Awards time is the innovation and accessibilities category. Because game developers are thinking of new, brilliant ways to make their games accessible to new people. And that means more people are going to play the games that we love. And that's all I want, man.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. You have so many brilliant minds and just people. I mean, just do yourself a favor and go look up a YouTube video where someone is trying to invent or trying to develop a new accessibility controller, and watch them hand it, place it in front of somebody who may be quadriplegic or something, and they play it with their head or their chin or their eyes, or maybe they have very, very limited use with their hands and they play it with 2 or 3 fingers. Watch the look on that person's face, that thinking, breathing, intelligent human being getting to play a game for the first time with the small bit of motor function that they have, and tell me that that's not a good thing. Tell me that doesn't move you.
And you know what? If you, for some reason, are a cold, dark, evil person and you hate that, guess what? If we have more accessibility features for more people more of the time, I guarantee you it's coming. It's coming around the corner. There will be a little genre of like, these are the games without any accessibility. These are the games with no warnings whatsoever, and they're dark. So we will have accessibility games for people who hate accessibility games.
Yeah,
that's what's going to happen.
But that's only going to happen if we have all these accessibilities.
Yeah.
Good. Games should be accessible.
Yeah, they should be because they're fucking games.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're made to entertain, and everyone deserves that.
I'm going to fucking quote Kojima for a second, and I'm going to be super pretentious. We are homo ludens. We are those who play. We are the ones who know what fun is, because fun is what gets us through. Since we were born to play, whether that be a video game, a baseball game, in anything. So making those things more accessible to people only benefits all of us in the long run. Okay. That's a big serious talk. That's everything we have for the boss room. I hope you enjoyed our 2025 kind of retrospective on where accessibility in gaming is. We will definitely talk about it again, probably in a couple of years.
Oh yeah, when someone invents a super cool way to play a game with your eyelids or your mind or something, get to work, y'all.
Yeah, exactly. All right, that's everything we have for our main topic, but stick with us as we get into what we've been up to in the epilogue.
Epilogue.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the show. It's time to dive into what we've been up to this week, what we've been playing, what we've been watching, what has been occupying our free time, and what has been making us happy. John?
Quick note before I talk about the main thing, but obviously I've been playing Borderlands 3, and I watched the deep dive into Borderlands 4 gameplay or whatever, and I got a tiny note for Reddit out there, because I made this post about, are there too many freaking guns in Borderlands 3? Like, most of them are trash. And they took a whole section to be like, look, we got your feedback. We know we are going to make the rare loot actually rare again, and it'll be better. And I feel vindicated.
Good.
Because everybody on Reddit totally denied what the hell I had to say, and I did not enjoy the experience.
Yeah. No, you were right. And I mean, I think when you said it to us, I said, no, you're right. The loot in 3 sucked a little bit. And I also watched that trailer because while I am usually a one to poo on big AAA franchises, Borderlands is one that has kept my attention. I stopped playing Assassin's Creed after Black Flag. I stopped playing Gears of War after 3. The big AAA franchises of yore, I fell off nearly all of them, or they just stopped making them, like Uncharted. But Borderlands, I've kept with it, man. I've loved every version of every game of that series, and I'm kind of excited for 4 because it looks like they listened.
Me too, and I'm most of the way through the DLC now. I've been enjoying it, but the main topic I want to talk about is I've been finally started watching The Last of Us, and no spoilers, don't worry.
Yeah.
No spoilers.
No spoilers at all, because we're currently watching season 2. So there will be no spoilers from from any direction.
No.
But I got to say, it is everything that everyone promised me it would be.
You've never played the game, right?
I've never played. I've seen the first 20 minutes of the game.
Oh, cool.
And so
You
that's
crying.
why the first episode was spoiled for me. And I'm watching it with my wife, and we see a particular character. I'm like, oh God, that's gonna suck. And my wife looks at me like, what do you mean? I'm like, oh, never mind. And she looks at me, she's kind of knows what I'm hinting at. She's like, no, they're not gonna do that. They've already established their character so much. And I'm like, and nope, they do it. And I did not realize that I should have been giving that warning to myself.
Yeah.
Because that happens all the time in this show, and it is. And every time it is devastating.
Yep.
Every time
never
it
not
works.
been.
Never not been.
It's just incredible writing. What a great show. What a great adaptation of a landmark video game. We're all. How far are you into season 1?
I just finished up the episode where he gets to the small town, the small isolated village town. And for the record, best casting in the whole show so far was the shortest scene ever. It was the 2 Native Americans they came across, played by Elaine Miles and Graham, can't remember his name from Dances with Wolves, Tatanka or whatever, or the Mohawk.
Also not in the game.
Yeah, but they were ideal casting for me. And I was like, oh my God, they're in this show. And then the scene was over. I'm like, no.
Yeah.
But it was great to see Marilyn from Northern Exposure and Graham, who I've actually interviewed. He's
awesome.
a cool, chill mofo. So,
what a wonderful show. What have I been doing? Well, like normally, I have a whole bunch that James and I did, so we'll talk about those together. So I guess all I can say is my update from the last episode, where I had not seen any of Andor Season 2, is that now I have seen the first 6 episodes of Andor Season 2, and it continues to be by far the best Star Wars thing.
I'm gonna watch Andor after you guys leave my apartment.
Did you say first 6? How many episodes are in season 2?
12.
Season 2 will be 12, and they're releasing them 3 at a time every week.
Yep.
I don't know why they're doing that. That's a new one on me, but you know what? It's working for me. I can watch 3 episodes of this a week.
Yeah,
Fuck
because every
I
3
can.
episodes is a separate story arc.
Right. You get little arcs that all connect together, but yeah, every 3 episodes is an arc, so they're releasing them an arc at a time.
It's so weird to think that 12 episodes is like a full season in my mind now. I'm
Oh,
like,
I know,
ooh, they're
right?
going the full 12. They must really believe in this.
Yeah, 12 is a lot. I was like, are they going to finish in 3 weeks? It's like 9 episodes? It's like, and James was like, no, it's 12. Easily the best Star Wars thing ever made. And I don't want to go mature for children or any of that. This is the most well-written, well-filmed, well-acted, artistic themes, fucking everything that makes media good, that makes TV shows good, is represented here. There are no weak spots. It is just a beautiful fucking show beginning to end. And I say that, I would have said it about season 1, and I'm sure I did back when we only had season 1. And again, I'm only halfway through season 2, and it's exactly as good, if not way better. Like, I don't know what to say.
I mean, we know how it ends.
To not get more hyperbolic, but like, this show is incredible. And that is the thing. That is the thing that is so remarkable about this, is we, years before this show aired, watched the main character die in Rogue One, and I am captivated by his journey. I am just enthralled by everything that is happening.
There was a meme, and I swear to God, it was so good, I saw the other day. There was basically just like, here's a scene from like Andor episode 1, where our main character gets held up by the police. This one event led to the overthrow of the Empire in ways you cannot even begin to imagine.
Yeah, that's kind of the thing, is knowing Cassian Andor from Rogue One for the hour and a half, two and a half hours we get with him, is like, this guy's a fucking rebel. Yeah, this guy gets it. He's doing a fuck the Empire, and watching that grow. Watching the resistance to fascism and the joining of an opposition, and the lessons you learn when your goal isn't to save people, but to force the destruction of the current system, no matter what it costs, is just such a mind fuck the entire time for us and the character and everything else. It's philosophical. It has weight, man. Like, I can't praise this show enough. I ask John every Tuesday when we meet for trivia, hey, have you started Andor yet? And I will continue to ask every week until he does. No pressure, but I'm just going to ask you every week until you do.
Wars.
And you are not the first person. A guest we had a while back, Brant Hughes, has asked me that. And that guy is not a person who interrogates me about anything. And that one, he's like, no, you really need to.
Yeah.
Just do it.
Yeah, it was...
Especially right now, in our current timeline.
No, there is no better time to be watching this show. You watch this show and you look at the Empire, and then you look around if you live in the United States, and you're like, yeah.
Yeah, Andor is so good.
What a
So
fucking show. The other 2 things I have to talk about that I did this week, we both did. We both went to go see the Thunderbolts, asterisk.
Yep.
And without spoiling anything, we're fucking back. Marvel
We are
movies
back.
are good again because they made a fucking movie and not an iteration, a chapter of a novella that they just needed to squeeze some characters into so that they can sell the next Avengers movie. We had a movie about stuff, a movie that, like, you can compare all up and down all day long to, like, oh, is just this their Suicide Squad? Are they trying to copy James Gunn? What is this? Like, who are these? You
First
know,
off, if you're going to copy somebody,
well, no, very
James
true.
Gunn is the person to copy.
I agree. But, you know, it's that there's this funny joke, and it's a line from the trailer, where somebody said Florence Pugh just said what we're all thinking as soon as we saw this trailer. Oh, what? Nobody flies. We all just punch and shoot, and like that's those are these characters, and it's fun to watch this ragtag group like deal with their shit, and also do what superheroes do when they're not superheroes.
They get the accessibility gun.
Yep, it's good. It's a good movie. It's got great themes. It's a serious movie that can make me laugh. It can make me cry. I mean, there's some good shit in this movie. To quote Cosmonaut Marcus from YouTube, this is the first time in a long time that I remember a Marvel movie having a theme. Like a movie about something, not just like a comic book panel.
Right.
It's worth watching, man. Even if if you've never seen a Marvel movie and you can't be arsed and you just don't care at all, I think you would still enjoy this movie.
Yeah. There's a line, and I won't say who says it. There's a lot of great one-liners in this whole movie.
Lots.
By the way, this movie was brought to you by several people who worked on A24 movies.
Yeah, it worked on the best episodes
People
of The Bear.
who worked on The Bear.
Yeah.
Like, there's a big crew behind this. But there's this line. And by the way, I got a little teary-eyed a couple times in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
I don't get teary-eyed in movies at all. And this movie kind of brought it out. But there was this one line where one of the characters says, I go home and I drink and I stare at my phone and I think about every bad thing that I've ever done. And I go to sleep, and I get up, and I do it again.
I go to work, and then I go home, and then I drink.
I swear to God, we were at an Alamo Draft House, and you could hear every person in that theater go, fuck.
Yeah, that's exactly my life.
Like, everybody was just like, Jesus Christ, you just described what we've been going through for years. And, like, it's just brilliant. It's brilliantly written. It's funny. It's emotional. It's honestly, you know what? I'll tell you my one spoiler-free review of it. I kind of think Bucky didn't really matter that much in the movie. That was probably about it. Everybody else, great. Yeah. Bucky was fun to have in there. He almost felt like an afterthought compared to the rest of them.
Felt like a bit of a chaperone.
Yeah.
And you know what? He is like 115 years old.
Yeah.
We needed an adult.
Yeah, he was the adult in the room. Yeah. That's what it is.
Let's see. The other thing we both did is we've both been playing Clair Obscur Expedition 33.
Yes. That is what we have been doing.
We have talked about that game twice already this episode. And you know where we are. Again, our good friend Ross has finished the game. James is very close to finishing the game.
Also, if you listen to our Patreon episodes, we've talked about it 4 times today.
That's true. And I am towards the beginning right now, having had to restart my playthrough. But we can, the three of us, I'll speak for Ross because he's not here. The three of us cannot recommend it enough.
We can't stop fucking talking about it.
Yeah, we talk about it every time we hang out, which is a few times a week.
And you started like way after us.
Yeah, I started 2 weeks after
Ross
you guys
just finished.
did.
I'm in Act 3.
Yeah.
I'm finally comfortable enough to start exploring the world in Act 3 because I was so underpowered.
I'm just chilling in Act 1.
Yeah.
It's a good...
If I could give you one non-spoiler recommendation, I have a couple extra boxes of tissues in my apartment. Maybe take one of those home with you because.
All right, I don't want to take your wanking supplies.
It's big sad time.
Yeah,
and like a lot of that game's big sad time.
Yeah, it is about. It has themes.
It has themes.
Like I was saying about Thunderbolts. It's a video game with good writing and good plot that has like themes of like loss and grief and what we do with those things, and it's beautiful. And again, I'm not near done with it.
One of the more interesting aspects of it, and this is not a spoiler, this is just the intro to the game, is the idea behind Clair Obscura is that at one point the world was kind of shattered and France was thrown into the ocean and this giant pillar's erected and it had a number on it. I think it starts at 100.
It starts at 100.
And every year that number counts down more. Mm-hmm. And people that are the age of the number then get raptured. We don't know what happens. They just go away.
Yeah. The day that that number changes, which is, I believe, the same day every year, everyone that is that age vanishes.
Right.
Right in front of your eyes.
And so this beautiful thing, and this is what this moment that feels so human to me that nobody's talking about. The beginning of the game opens with a festival. And this festival exists for two reasons, because the paintress always changes the number on the same day, the same hour, everything, like clockwork, every year. So every year there is another expedition, and the expeditioners are always people that are a year
1 year from dying.
1 year from dying, right? Their job is to go out into the real world and find the paintress, hunt her down, save everybody's lives. So far there have been however many number of expeditions.
67.
Yeah, 67. Thank you for math. And the most fascinating part of this to me is that this is a celebration in the face of annihilation.
Right.
There is nothing more human to me than the fact that this town celebrates sending off their expeditioners the exact same moment that part of their population gets raptured every year.
There's a really interesting comment I got from famous Twitch streamer Co-Carnage when he was playing the game, and he got through the prologue, and he said, why this game has the sauce? Because it's a really good hook, and they hit you with it at the beginning. Kojima's on record for saying the real hook in the original Death Stranding might have taken a little too long to get to. Mm-hmm. And Kojima's famous for long-winded openings to his games. Mm-hmm. We heard recently that when it comes to Death Stranding 2, this has been amended. But going back to Claire Obscure, this hook, the idea that you're at a party that they've been having annually for 67 years, and every year, a certain group of people who have reached a certain age will vanish before your eyes, and they, for all intents and purposes, are fucking dying right in front of you. Mm-hmm. And their solution in the face of this insane, unspeakable horror and tragedy is to put a wreath of flowers around their necks. Mm-hmm. So that when they vanish, flowers float up into the air. And this is the festival they have. And not everyone goes, not everyone participates. They make a real point to say that some people think it's stupid. There are certain people.
Some people think it's morbid.
Some people think it's morbid. Some people worship the paintress and think that we shouldn't be sending expeditions out to try and find her. And to be fair, none of us even really know what's going on. They send that expedition out. None of them have ever come back.
Yep.
No one from any expedition has ever come back. Mm-hmm. So we basically send a group of warriors out into the ocean every year and never see them again. And remember, we're 67 years in. So children have been born and lived and are completely sentient. There are teenagers. One of them is on the mission with you, mm-hmm. who just have never known a world without this ceremony and these flowers. And the fact that when people know it's their last year, they bring all their furniture out into the street and leave it there in case anyone else needs it.
Yep.
And the town gets smaller, and there are more and more empty apartments, and there are more and more empty shops in this little bit of floating Paris that they have left. It's just, it's such an incredible, beautiful, poignant hook, backed by, again, incredible writing, incredible voice acting, and the fucking GOAT soundtrack of the year. No question. So whether this is Game of the Year or not, depending on what might possibly still come out, this is easily the
I
best
guarantee
soundtrack
you,
of the year.
6 months from now, when we're watching the Game Awards, we will be hearing that music on stage.
Absolutely, it'll be on stage. I hope they have everyone who is a part of this music on stage.
But wait a minute, the lack of photorealistic facial expressions didn't bother you guys?
That's the thing about video games and photorealism. The better it looks, the worse it looks.
How dare you?
The better it looks, the worse it looks. You want to pick an art style, and you want to stick to it. And that'll have more personality, more readability, more adjustability than anything you're trying to do with a photoreal character.
It's not what NVIDIA says.
I love the way Kratos looks in the God of War series, and the Sony Studio Santa Monica are masters. But for the most part, when we try and do photorealistic faces in shit like, I don't know, Assassin's Creed or Far Cry, people end up looking funny. or their eyes look funny, or their ears look funny. We're doing a weird thing with Fable right now, where we're trying to make people look like real people rather than like actors or movie stars, and it also looks weird. But this art style, backed up by Unreal Engine 5, which is something that I really need to point out. This small team was only able to make a game that looks this fucking good on a AA team with a AA budget and a AA price because of Unreal Engine 5.
And none of the developers, sans like the main producer, had ever spearheaded a game before.
Exactly.
These were all essentially, picture them as, and I do not mean this in a rude way, picture them as like B and C tier developers.
Junior talent.
Junior talent that this company said, we're going to grab all this junior talent from other companies and we're going to take them and we're going to say, all right, guys, we're going to make a game. And we're not even getting into the mechanics of the game.
Right.
We're just describing the first 10 minutes of this fucking game.
Yeah.
And like
the hook, the hook gets you. The hook is why everyone kept playing. And when they did keep playing, they realized how much fun the game is to play. Like I said, I restarted the game. It's a JRPG. Most people would spend the restart of a JRPG in anger, having to redo the bullshit and watch the conversations again. I had the time of my life.
Also, not my joke. I cannot take credit for this one. But somebody on Blue Sky said because it was made in France, it can't be a JRPG.
It's an FRPG.
No, it's a JRPG.
J.
It's a JRPG.
JRPG.
That is what it is.
You know what? I'll take it. And I apologize to anyone who speaks French or is French for whatever my pronunciation just was.
Don't say you're sorry to them. They love the prequels.
So I don't even really have anything else I want to talk about.
No,
Like, this is it.
because I want you to go play it. I don't want to
I want you to go
spoil
play
any of it for you.
Yeah,
Just
I will
please
say
enjoy
that
it.
once
It's wonderful.
Once Hector completes it, we will probably take a boss room or a Patreon episode and do a little bit of a minor spoiler cast about it because it's so good. But it just came out, and we're gonna give it time to breathe. And I think it's been a while since I've done this on this show. But even if you're not into to JRPGs, this is the one.
Yeah.
This is the one.
Yeah.
Like,
If
pick
you
it
like
up.
RPGs, but you don't like the turn-based stuff, like
This is it.
like the JRPG, like if you like, you're never into Final Fantasy, but you love RPGs and number systems and fighting battles,
Hold on,
like
this
say,
is not
Oblivion and stuff.
turn-based combat?
It is
It
turn-based
is
combat, but the
ish.
thing is, it is not boring turn-based combat. It is active turn-based combat, and I don't mean like in a Final
you
Fantasy
must
8
actively
way.
dodge.
Ah.
I mean in an animation-based way. You are participating in a battle beyond pressing a button to take your turn. You are affecting every moment of combat in how you react to your
Oh, so like a video game.
And
I'd
it's
play
also
those.
a game, and this is one of my favorite things, and this is just like a little James fact. I love a game that lets you feel like you're breaking its systems. Games like Final Fantasy Tactics, where you're like, oh, if I stack these 3 abilities, I could do like 10,000 damage. But it's not really breaking the game. It's all in there. But that's what this game does.
A game makes you feel incredibly smart for figuring shit out.
Yeah.
Well, I'm intrigued.
And that's great.
I am intrigued.
I can't recommend it enough. Again, like I said, if you have Game Pass, you can try it for free and play the whole game for free,
But
by
we
the way.
would recommend buying it.
Because you're already paying for Game Pass. But I'm going to pay for it. Like I am. There's no way I don't want to have this in my library forever. This is a truly landmark game. Made me change the way I think about JRPGs because I grew up loving them, and then I realized they weren't really fun for me right around the, I don't know, Final Fantasy 15
Yeah.
era, 13 and 10. I was just like, these are kind of a lot. But getting to this game, never once has it felt like a chore to play. And again, dear reader, I started it over. And I had a lot more fun my second time through.
And you get to fight mimes.
Yeah. You get to fight mimes. You get to fucking punch them in their mime faces.
Yep. All right.
The last thing we did, the very last thing we did is last night, James for the first time, and me for the first time since I was probably a child, watched The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly.
Yep. I don't
James,
know.
how'd you feel about it?
I mean, I don't know. You guys are putting me through the paces with Western movies right now. And there was at some point I was 2/3 of the way through this movie. Then I was like, the beginning of this movie's a Western, but I don't think the end of it is. But it was fantastic. I'm not a Clint Eastwood guy. I'm not a Western guy, which is why you guys are making me watch Westerns right now.
But how about that cinematography?
That fucking
Beautiful.
cinematography.
Beautiful. Funny enough, I knew every song from the soundtrack.
Yeah, Ennio Morricone just
Yep.
giving you every song you've ever heard.
Yep.
And, everywhere from scenes that we've watched. We were spending the movie. The extended cut's 3 hours, y'all.
Huh.
We watched it.
Well, like being like, I remember this scene from John Wick. I remember this scene from, The Matrix. I remember this scene from, movies have been copying this movie for so
my
long.
actual Letterboxd review you can find on Letterboxd for this movie is, I'm really glad I watched this movie, so now I understand the references in all the other movies that I watch.
And it's very true. And man, we were running the gamut. We talked about movies we'd seen this stuff in, TV shows we'd seen this stuff in, video games we'd seen this stuff in. Just the whole movie was Leonardo DiCaprio pointing moments like, that thing, I know that thing, that's from this thing, and it's just what a fucking classic.
Yep.
And like, I can't like say like you should put it on every week or anything, but you would do yourself a disservice to not see this movie at least once in your life.
Absolutely. All right, that's everything we have for the show this week. Don't forget that you can head over to GoodNightGG to become a patron of our show. You can head over to facebook.com/GNGGcast where you can chat with us, as well as at GNGGcast on Twitter and goodnight.gg on Blue Sky to talk to me directly. I want to go be more Clear Obscura. So until next time, for Hector, this is James.
And for James, this is Hector.
And for you, this is me.
Everyone, good night.
And good game.
The issue is like at some point I'm trying to find soju for us. And it's one of those moments where like I walk up to the dude and I'm like, hey, where's your soju at? And he just kind of like turns to the right slightly. And there's just like a sign that says soju. And I'm like, God damn it.
That's a Kevin Smith joke. Ugh.
It happens in real life all the time.